time. And similarly, if we want to experience things in the future, we have to create the cause for that to happen. And then the final one, karma doesn't disappear, even after many lifetimes. So karma doesn't disappear of its own accord. Positive actions that we do get destroyed by negative minds. When a strong negative mind arises, it destroys a positive action. I'm not sure if I gave you an example of this. Let's say you do something, you do some kind of positive action, you're very generous to somebody, you help them out when they need, this kind of thing. Did I give you an example yesterday? No. Oh, okay. So, yeah, so you do something really good. From depths of your heart, you do something really positive, really good. And then, for some reason, this person does something you don't like, you get really angry. And you get very angry at them, you start shouting and say, well, I wish I'd never done this to you, I wish you, da-da-da-da. Well, the anger destroys the positive. Anger destroys positivity. Positive actions are destroyed by anger, ill will, resentment. Pride weakens them. If you do a positive thing but you have pride in your mind, oh, I did this, it decreases, it weakens. It weakens the action. It's not very strong. Then these strong, anger, ill will, wrong views like this, they actually kind of destroy positive actions. So for that reason, we have to pay attention, not just to creating virtuous actions, but protecting our mind, being patient. That becomes a very big issue, because obviously, if you're living in this world, there are so many times when people do things you don't want. You try to help people, and very often you get harmed in return. So this becomes a whole big subject we'll talk about. This is the subject of lojong, and how to keep your mind well trained, so whatever happens, your mind can stay patient, and you can not lose your determination to benefit others. It's a very important subject. And then negative actions can be destroyed. So negative imprints can be destroyed. And how do you do this? We spoke a little bit about it. We talked about regrets. Regrets. You do something negative, you harm somebody, but then you feel strong regret. And the stronger the regret, the more powerful the purification. Actually, we talk about 4 opponent powers. And these are very important, because what we're trying to do with the law of cause and effect is, as much as possible, we're trying to create positive actions, and then we're trying to increase the power of those positive actions. As much as possible, we're trying to avoid negative actions, and then we're trying to purify all the imprints of negative actions that we've done in the past. Are you with me? Yeah. So accumulating positive actions and increasing the strength of those positive imprints. By rejoicing, for example, we talked about rejoicing. Taking joy in the fact that you can create virtue. Then avoiding negative actions and purifying the negative imprints that are on the mind stream. So we have to know how to purify these. There is nothing that cannot be purified. There is no single negative karma that can't be purified. But you do have to do something. You have to apply an opponent. And we talk about 4 opponent powers. That's because there are 4 parts to a complete action. There are 4 results to a complete action. So there are 4 opponents that need to be applied in order to purify those negative actions. The first one, and the most important one, is regret. So if you do a negative action and you don't regret it, it can't be purified. And for example, here's a good example. I was, I've been spending a lot of time in Colorado. So I was leaving Colorado, and I was flying, I think maybe I was flying from New Mexico to California. And sitting next to me on the plane was a guy, I think it might have been a local guy, and he was a hunter. He's been hunting elk. So there he was, and it looked like there was a whole group around there who were really into hunting elk. Elk? Deer. Deer. Yeah, deer. So the deer wander very peacefully there. So I'm living in my cabin on the Rocky Mountain, very simple cabin, just fetching water, chopping wood, you know, the usual kind of idyllic vision that you have of a Buddhist monk or nun, living in a very simple cabin, no toilet, no bathroom, fetching water, chopping wood, living simply, isolated, not seeing people, doing my practice, very happy, big blue skies. I don't know if you know Colorado, it's a beautiful, beautiful state. Very isolated place, stunning views. So I leave the mountain retreat and I'm on the plain, and where I live the deer just wander freely. They're very beautiful, they come round, they know we won't harm them, and all the animals, basically it's you and the wildlife, the deer, the animals, foxes, very, very beautiful situation living on the mountain. And here's this guy sitting next to me, and he's completely a hunter. So I think he's got this on his iPhone. Yeah, you can imagine, on one of these tablet phones, yeah. And he's showing his pictures. Yeah, and here's one. I shot that one right in the head. Yeah, I stalked it for 7 days, 7 nights. Finally, there it was, staring at me, boom, straight in. I don't know about this stuff. And I'm like, you know, and then I cut it, I stuffed it, you know, da-da-da-da, I got this, got it out my, here we are, here's another one. Now this one was, and these guys are completely getting off on this. They're sharing their stories about how they killed these elk and how they, and I'm sitting there and I'm like trying to stop myself from screaming at them. So what is so brave about shooting an unarmed animal in the head? But I restrained myself. It's none of my business. It's their conversation. You know, I'm kind of sorry for them that that's how they get their enjoyment, and that they think somehow that this is a manly thing to do. So they're rejoicing over and over and over again, you know, boasting, bragging, wow, it's really good. If you have that kind of attitude towards something negative, or from the Buddhist point of view, it's negative. What do people cherish most? Their life. Animals also cherish their life most of all. So when you take away the life of another being, that is the kind of, you know, from conventional level, one of the most harmful things you can do. You take away someone's pen, it's not a big deal. You take away their life, that is harmful. So killing, even thinking you have the right to take away the life of another living being. Why do we have the right to do this? Anyway, so, you know, rejoicing over and over and over again. So first of all you have the negative action, then on top of that you're rejoicing in it, and so it gets stronger and stronger and stronger. You have no regret. You can't purify it. Do you see what I'm saying? You can't purify it. But let's say, I mean, today actually, I'm walking down to temple, and there was a small slug. This is a classic Buddhist story, yeah? Classic Buddhist nun story. You'll be writing home saying, you'll never believe this, I did this course and this Buddhist nun, she's talking all about not treading on slugs. They're weird, these Buddhists. Anyway, there's a little baby slug in the road. And I'm walking past it, and I walked on, and I thought, well, I can't leave it there because the cars are going to go over it. There's no way it's going to get to this side of the road in time. The car's going to go over it, someone's going to tread on it, the other people don't care. So I walked back and I picked it up and I put it at the side of the road. It's the opposite to killing. It's the opposite to killing, yeah? Actually saving a life, protecting a life from danger. We define that as a virtuous action. So, how else did I get on that subject? So, if you do these negative actions and you don't feel the slightest regret, you can't purify it. It can't be purified. You don't see anything wrong with it. You can't purify. So regret is very powerful. If I had been walking, that's what I was going to say. If I had been walking down the temple road and accidentally trod on the slug, and then realized after a few steps, oh no, I trod on the slug, and felt regret, which I would have actually, I would genuinely have felt regret, because it might seem stupid to you, but I don't want to tread on slugs. So then it can be purified, you see? So without having regret, so we look at these negative actions, the first thing is regret and how strong the regret is. If you harm another person and you feel no regret, you think, oh, I'm glad I did that, that was great, next time I'm going to say this and this and this as well, you cannot purify that action. But if you feel regret, there is no action that can't be purified. This is what I'm trying to say to you. There is nothing, there is no negative action, no matter how big it is, that can't be purified when there's enough regret. I don't know if any of you ever read this book called The Sunflower. Sunflower? Yeah, you read it. Who wrote it? It's not Elie Wiesel, it's Elie Wiesel. Are there really no Israeli people here who've read The Sunflower? Does it have another title? The Sunflower.
He's got a couple of books, I think.
Yeah, I think the most famous one is the trilogy of him in the concentration camp.
Okay. Well, I read this one. I picked this one up. It was very interesting. I picked it up in a cafe in Balden, in Kathmandu, and I just was reading through it because it was extremely. I mean, it was him putting forward this quandary about an experience he had in a concentration camp, and one of the Nazi men came up, called him to his side, and he had bullet shot, cannon shot all over his body, and he was dying a very painful death. And he realized, at this point of dying, he realized that he had done many harmful actions, and he was begging. Elie Wiesel, who at that point was a concentration camp inmate, who was in the hospital because they had to do all these filthy jobs in the hospital, filthy, disgusting jobs. He called him to his bedside and he said, "Please forgive me." And the whole book is about the subject of forgiveness and whether or not it's possible to forgive. Does this ring a bell now? And he not only tells his own story, but he also has about 100 letters, replies to letters that he wrote to religious people all over the world, asking whether forgiveness is possible or not. And some religions, some religious people wrote back and said, it is not possible to forgive. Only God can forgive. And others said, if the person themselves came to the understanding and a deep remorse about the action they did, when they get to that point, God forgives them. If they're able to come to that point, God forgives them. So there were many different religious viewpoints. And of course, the Buddhist point of view is that everything can be purified. Can you imagine if it can't be purified? Can you imagine? If you can't purify negative actions? I mean, what a heavy, heavy vision. For me, it was an eye-opener reading this book because, having been a Buddhist for so many years, it's my understanding that there is nothing that cannot be purified if you put the energy into purifying it. And the major thing is, you have to have a mind of regret. You must regret what you did. You must see that it was wrong and feel regret. Okay. Then there is reliance, which, so from the Buddhist point of view, there's if there's a negative action's been done, then this is something against the advice for the Buddha, so taking refuge in the Buddha, and it's harming sentient beings. So you need to generate compassion for sentient beings. Then there's the remedy. This is in your book on page 6. Remedy. And the remedy is doing an action, a positive action, that opposes the negative action that you did. Right? So you did something negative. Now, in order to antidote that, you do something positive. And then the final part is restraint. So let's say you killed. I mean, this happened to me so much. I remember when I was young. Some reason I must have, I mean this will come up later, but for some reason I must have, in a past life, I must have been aware and tried not to kill, lie or steal, because it's been quite natural for me this life not to do these things and to feel extremely uncomfortable even before I was a Buddhist. I remember going fishing with my brother. He took me fishing and he caught a fish, and it was horrific for me to see this fish caught on the hook. and then he took it off, and then there was slicing and gutting it. I mean, to me that was just horrific. So some people, you'll see from a young age, some young kids, they love pulling the legs off of spiders and treading on things, and others, they cry when they see this kind of thing. To them it's just horrific. Without being taught, they'll pick up insects and they'll put them out of harm's way. You've seen this, yeah? It could even be two children in the same family. It's not something they've been taught, but it's just innate within them. So we would say that this is because in a past life they've trained themselves in this way, and this kind of habit continues. So if you've habituated yourself to killing in a past life, it would be very natural this life. If you've habituated yourself to lying in a past life, it would be very natural in this life. If you've habituated yourself to not lying and not killing, it would be very difficult this life to do it, to do those actions. It will be, the opposite will come easy to you. It will be really like, you see these young kids, they cry. They cry when they see somebody being harmed or something being harmed. They just naturally want to save life or protect life. So I've seen this, young children who are naturally generous, who are naturally, and others who are just seem to enjoy cruelty. Okay, so let's say when you were young, you used to enjoy going fishing and you killed a lot of fish. Then maybe you... this is making a noise.
Yeah.
Could you move it back a little bit? It's quite
Is that what we do? Just move it back?
No,
Is that alright? No?
opposite.
Maybe when
You have to go
Forward.
deeper and we make it slower. Yeah.
Like that?
sometimes it's
That's better.
Okay. Alright?
No.
Alright?
Well,
Oh, that's
yeah,
okay,
yeah,
isn't it?
but,
That's good.
No.
Can you hear me? Okay, if you can hear me. If you can't hear me, just put your hand up immediately. So, what else was I saying?
If you killed a lot of fish.
Yeah, so let's say you killed a lot of fish when you were younger, and then you come, I find this, it blows my mind, but I find that a lot of people who attend a course, by the end of the course, their attitude has changed towards killing. I find this, can't explain it, but I think, anyway, it's something that happens. The heart opens a bit more. So let's say you have that kind of situation, so then you think about it, you sit down and think about it, well, killing, taking the life of another being is not right. Let me give an example. Alex Berzin, who is one of the early translators for His Holiness, is a very good Dharma teacher, and he, of course, was Jewish, and he was saying, look at the situation where a mosquito lands on your arm. Mosquito lands on your arm. Now, before I came to Kopan, I remember I was happily squashing mosquitoes against the wall, little red blood flecks, to get rid of them, because